Sir, Mr. Beecham is going to go ahead and lay out the situation, and then you'll have an opportunity to speak. If you do choose to speak, we'll just need to get your name so that we have that for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioners, what you have before you under agenda item number 7 is a request to waive minimum standards under Rule 217.1. Specifically, in this case, you're being asked to waive the permanent bar for Class A misdemeanors for enrollment or licensure under our standards. In this particular case, Chief Parrish is requesting the waiver for Ms. Golembrowski Bradley for a 2001 Class A misdemeanor selling alcohol to a minor. This is made on behalf, Chief Parrish is making this on behalf of the Livingston Police Department.
Sir?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Again, I'm Matt Parrish, the chief with Livingston Police Department. And Ms. Bradley, in 2001, was convicted, like he said, for sale of alcohol to a minor, Class A misdemeanor. During that time, she was charged and convicted. She waived her right to an attorney, received deferred probation, and then moved on from there. Since that time, Ms. Bradley, other than a traffic citation, has had no other offenses, has committed anything. She's got 6 children. 2 are with a local sheriff's office. 1 is in the military, and other 3 are in class. She's been with me since 2001, October of 2001, and I put her in a civilian position as an evidence tech. She showed reliability. We need her. I would like to move her forward in the telecommunicators so she can assist the detectives on certain items that they need to run through the system. Without that, I mean, we'll continue to employ her. I'm not saying this is a do or don't. She's going to stay with me, but because she has been loyal and she's very good, I would appreciate y'all's consideration in this matter and granting this waiver.
Ms. Bradley, would you like to address the commission?
My name's April Bradley. I appreciate y'all taking this time to hear us out. Sorry, I'm nervous. I never had to do this. But getting this means a lot to me. I want to be there to help with our local police department and also our community. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I want to just add. I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous. I'm used to Lions Club and Rotary Clubs. It's a little intimidating, but in my local little town. But I did want to add that she has been gainfully employed since then. I mean, at her last job, she was even promoted over to a branch in the Jasper area, a manager in the Jasper area. She's excelled in all of her past jobs. She also has done, before she come to work for us, volunteer work even in her local community, and still continues to do that with the police department. So, thank you.
Any questions?
So she did plead guilty, admitted she made a mistake, and was on probation.
Yes, sir, she did. She actually waived her right to an attorney and went before the court and pled.
Yeah, I'd just like to make a comment. Thank you for all the information that you provided that we require and then some. Sometimes, like today, you don't hear a lot of discussion from the commissioners or a lot of questions, and it's really because you've provided a very thorough packet for us to review. There's some of these have literally hundreds of pages of documents for us to review to make our decision, and just so the audience is aware and so you all are aware, we review everything. We take it very seriously, and I just wanted to let you know if you weren't hearing a lot from the commission.
Okay.
That's
Thank you.
why.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Bradley, you understand if you are granted a waiver that you can't take that waiver anywhere else, right? You can't leave, so, because the...
No, my hometown's Livingston, and with him,
Okay.
my husband does their cop cars. So
Okay.
he also works for
And if I'm understanding, this was when you were working as a clerk?
Yes,
This
as a
incident,
cashier.
at a cashier at a
19.
gas station when you were 19? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Madam Chair, if I may, when we hire somebody, I tell these new applicants that they're going to screw up. They're human beings, and if they do, to admit they screwed up, take your licks and move on. And that's admirable of you. I'm satisfied. I would like to make a motion that we approve the waiver.
I second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign.
Thank you all very much.
Chief and Ms. Bradley, congratulations. And Ms. Bradley, we appreciate your willingness to serve your community. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank y'all for giving me this chance.
Thank you again. Good luck.
We'll move on to the next case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Excuse me. The next waiver request is made by the Fannin County Sheriff's Office by Sheriff Mark Johnson on behalf of Christopher A. Pender. This is for a a Class A misdemeanor criminal mischief disposition from 2009. And I believe on behalf of the sheriff, he was unable to make it to medical reasons, and the presiding officer granted the ability for staff to appear on his behalf. On behalf of Christopher A. Pender, the Fannin County Sheriff's Office for the Class A misdemeanor of criminal mischief from 2009.
Good morning. I'm Chief Deputy Treadway with the Fannin County Sheriff's Office.
Is that on?
What's that?
Is the microphone on?
To the mic or, yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I'm Chief Deputy Treadway with the Fannin County Sheriff's Office. Obviously, I'm not Mark Johnson. He had some health issues, so I was given this a little bit less than 2 days ago. Mr. Pender seeking a waiver for an offense that occurred when he was 17 years old. He's going to have more answers to the questions that you guys might have.
Good morning.
Good morning.
3 months and the
Would
age of
you
7.
state your name for us, please, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank
My
you.
name's Christopher A. Pender.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. When I was 17 years of age, I participated in some vandalism, which resulted in a Class A misdemeanor, criminal mischief. 2 years later, I applied for a position at the Fannin County Jail, and due to a clerical error, I was accepted. I fell in love with the job, and after working there a little over a year, it was discovered of what happened, and I was let go. For the past decade, I've traveled the country working for gas companies and representing them for contractors, and I'm tired of traveling the country. I want to be home with my children. They weren't always able to travel with me. I'd really like to, if there's a chance, I would really like to try and go back to work at the Fannin County Jail as a correctional officer for the state of Texas.
Questions?
Could you give us a little bit more, excuse me, about the, what you've been doing since you left?
Yes, sir. Before I left, I got married, was pregnant with my first child. I knew right away I had to go to work. I got into construction, in the oil and gas industry, and for the past decade I had been doing that, new pipeline construction, compressor stations, things of that nature. And like I said, traveling the country is hard doing that with a family. My kids were old enough to go.
Issues with law enforcement since
No, sir. I
you
believe
were
I had
17?
had a traffic violation at a stop sign 7 years ago, I believe it was. But no, sir, I have not. That day when I was 17, that changed my life. No, sir, there's not been any issues.
I actually, if y'all can stand by, to the commission and to Director Beecham, so this one's a little different than what we normally have because there are several offenses, actually. So typically what we have, for new commissioners as well, we have one offense that, you know, it's typically a situation like this, something that happened in their youth. And here, kind of the overall idea is the same. It's kind of one series of actions in one evening, but it's a little bit different that we have 3 actual different cause numbers, 2 Bs and an A. So is there any difference in kind of what we're able to do because of that?
The approach that I would suggest, Commissioner Burris, is obviously the other 2 Class B misdemeanors aren't disqualifiers on their own because they've been beyond the 10, been beyond the 10 years. However, you can consider it in conjunction with this for purposes of mitigating or aggravating circumstances. But as you did note, it was all from the same series of events, and this was just happened to be how it was ultimately disposed of by 1 Class A and 2 Class Bs. So obviously, if it were a different event or circumstance, or if there were separate incidents for the Bs that the time had run out, certainly that would go against, a claim of upright and lawful conduct since these had occurred. However, these were all arise from the same occurrence or event. It was just pled out, happened to be 2 Bs and an A. So the Bs by themselves, obviously, the 10 years has run out on those, and they represent the same conduct.
I got it. That's right, the 10 years have passed. Okay. Yeah, and for me, I view this all as one transaction. And I think, even though there are 3 different cause numbers, that's typically how it would be viewed in courts, so. Okay.
Mr. Pender?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So this occurred when you were 17, correct?
Yes, sir.
And how old are you now, sir?
32.
32?
Yes, sir.
You said you have children at home, correct?
Yes, sir.
How many children do you have, sir?
My son is 10, my daughter is 9, and my stepdaughter is 4.
Awesome. I stayed up late last night going over all the stuff we're going to hear today, and when I was reading through the letters of people writing in support of you today, I saw a common pattern and a common theme through every one of those letters, and it showed someone's got a kind of a natural leader ability to them. You've been in a lot of leadership positions throughout your professional career, sir?
After my leadership role at the Fannin County Detention Center all them years ago, yes, sir, as a third-party inspector for gas companies, you're representing billion-dollar gas companies, so yes, sir. For the past decade, I have been. Yes, sir.
And you wanted to come back into the law enforcement profession, and what's your why? Why do you want to serve as a corrections officer or jailer, sir?
Yes, sir. The answer to that question is I strive to be a leader, an example, a role model. I myself did not have one as a child growing up, and that's all I want to be for my children, my friends and family, is a role model.
Do you think the experience you had at 17, do you think that would help you in your role as a corrections officer with other people that have made some poor decisions in their lives?
Yes, sir.
Do you think that experience that you went through helped It sounds like you changed your life around, as you said earlier, when that time happened. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I sure did.
And you haven't had any more interactions with law enforcement, I've heard.
No, sir.
I've got no further questions right now.
I, for one, believe that we should offer grace. I think that, and I'm going to date myself here a little bit. When I was in high school, 17-year-old football players would break into schools and steal the other school's mascot and paint it our colors and put it on the field. And as a school board president in a different district today, that same offense would put a student in this position, right? Back then, the football coaches would essentially just have them run suicides on the field. So it's a very different day today. And I don't think necessarily, and I have a 17-year-old son as well, by the way, the actions sometimes of 17-year-olds do not reflect who they are when they become an adult and they mature and have families and children. Things change. So although, of course, the things, I don't know, I just think of 17-year-olds and think of my own son. And, my prayer every day is honestly that I get him to graduation on May, whatever it is, and that he doesn't cause any mischief because he is a 17-year-old boy. And thankfully, we have been blessed in that area where we haven't had that situation. But honestly, after reading everything very thoroughly, and also the explanation by Commissioner Burris on the 3, now that was a question I had, but I understand it all happened essentially on the same day. I, for one, would just like to offer grace in this incident. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Pinder, you had, or you were directed by the court to pay back almost $1,100 in restitution for the damages.
Yes, ma'am.
Who paid that?
Myself, with the help of my grandfather at the time. I couldn't make that large amount at that age, but he did assist me, and he made sure I paid him off for it.
That was going to be my next question, so thank you. Any other questions? Comments?
If no one's
Comment. Just a last comment here off of Commissioner Lamont Dixon's statements. 17 years old. This was not great, obviously. This was really a poor choice, poor conduct. In a lot of other situations, and I often see, man, if they had a better lawyer, there wouldn't be some of these issues. This is kind of one of those cases that I think, man, if he had a better lawyer, you wouldn't be before us here today. I absolutely believe, as Commissioner Lamont Dixon stated, that the things that we do as youngsters, but by the grace of God, we are here unscathed. So I frequent the LaSalle Corrections Facility at Fannin County Detention Center in my day job. So I know you all are in desperate need of correctional officers there, and I am in need of them when I go there. We can have some further discussions if you stick around, sir, after the meeting, and don't jet out as soon as you have a decision. But anyone who has been in that environment before, as you have, has left and has chosen to come back to do that work, I think says a lot about you. It's not an easy job. We've had, yesterday, in fact, we had very thorough discussion about issues surrounding our need in the state of Texas for jailers in particular, law enforcement overall, the shortages that we're having. And so making that choice for the good of your family to come back and be with them and take on this job, I commend you for doing that. And if you receive this waiver here today from the commission, stay safe.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept Fannin County Sheriff's Office waiver request on behalf of Christopher Pinder.
Second.
We have Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Thank you for your time.
Congratulations to you each, and we have high expectations of you.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are going to move to agenda item number 8, which is involving Title 37 of the Texas Administration Code, Chapters 211 through 229. Director Beecham.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This is for final action to, as we proposed at the meeting in Corpus Christi in October, according to the TCOLE Rule Review Plan. If you'll recall, this is a management item as set forth by the Sunset Commission. We have an updated rule review plan, and this final adoption simply readopts the rules as they are. Of course, in the next few months, you'll be seeing actual proposed amendments to the rules and repeals as necessary as the legislative session requires. So for your consideration for today, to take final action to readopt Title 37, Chapters 211 through 29 pursuant to the TCOLE review, or Rule Review Plan.
Commissioners, any questions or comments?
One comment.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I recognize that this is the final action, so obviously that means we've seen this like 12 times, at least. And this is a 650-page packet we had here today. However, sorry guys, however, for the benefit, particularly of the newer commissioners that were not around when we reviewed all of these, if they were in the packet, just for them to review and to refresh everyone's recollection of what these rules are going forward, that would be helpful. So I don't think it keeps us from taking any action here today and all that, and it's kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, we've already gone through the whole process of discussion and all that, so it's just a matter of taking that final action here today. And again, I don't think it's going to change that, but just something to keep in mind.
No, sure, and I think it's a great point, Commissioner Burris, for the benefit of new commissioners, current commissioners, attendees, public, anyone who's listening. What this is going to do is essentially readopt, as is the entire TCOLE rulebook, as it is according to the scheduled reviews. We went through a review within the last year and a half. We have a schedule which we do different sections. Quite often what does happen based on rule changes, cleanups, or whatever the case is between sessions is there, like in this case, we just review the entire rule packet, and simply what we're doing is readopting them as they are now. So moving forward, we essentially reset the clock, and the purpose behind a rule review plan and reviewing the rules even out of session is to ensure that rules are still they're still applicable, they still serve the regulated community, and that they still serve the public to the extent that they were originally intended to. And without fail, you're going to find, particularly when we do the session reviews in response to the session, is oftentimes things not necessarily because we've had a change in procedure or based on what's going on out in the field we need to change it, but simply sometimes rules just become dead letters, for lack of a better term, and they're no longer applicable. I can tell you there's have been references to mail, there's references to first-class mail and things of that nature, which we all know that we're moving beyond and past. So some terms or some processes that have been archaic, mail first-class mail to TCOLE or TCOLE to a licensee, things of that nature, need to be updated in response to whatever contemporary contemporary methods or means that may be available to us. So that kind of gives you a background of the purpose of the rule review plan.
And also that this approval is for a moment in time, and we know that
Yes.
the rules will be changing, several rules will be changing.
Very soon.
Very soon.
Correct.
Yes, and a reminder, it's not TCOLE changing the rules right away. This is coming from the legislature to us, in which we are mandated to update and integrate these changes from the legislature to our rules. So, yes, it is a constant process.
Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion that we readopt Title 37, Texas Administrative Code, Chapters 211 to 229, pursuant to the TCOLE review plan.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We're going to move on now to agenda item number 9, and Director Grigsby, who is going to talk with us about the Texas Peace Officers Memorial Monument.
Thank you, Commissioners. And again, as I mentioned earlier, these are the names that will be honored at the ceremony on the 30th with your approval that have been added to the list following ERS approval for the medical cases, and there was one that was, the death occurred right around the time of the December commission meeting. So to read them into the record, Deputy Sheriff Cornelius Anderson, Harris County Sheriff's Office, end of watch July 12th, 2020. Senior Police Officer Charlie Williams Jr., Corpus Christi Police Department, end of watch July 15th, 2020. Investigator Richard Anthony Cipollio Sr., Harris County District Attorney's Office, end of watch January 13th, 2021. Deputy Sheriff Alexander Guads, Harris County Sheriff's Office, end of watch April 22nd, 2021. Deputy Sheriff Carlos David Ortiz, Colorado County Sheriff's Office, end of watch August 31st, 2021. Corrections Officer Honorato Antones, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, end of watch September 3rd, 2021. Corrections Officer Thomas Scott Calora, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, end of watch October 5th, 2021. Detective Rodney Mooneyham, Denton Police Department, end of watch October 16th, 2021. Police Officer Thomas Christopher Hutchinson, Haltom City Police Department, end of watch October 27th, 2021. Police Officer Franklin Joe, Lone Star College System Police Department, end of watch January 4th, 2022. Corrections Officer Mark Loken, Texas Department of Criminal Justice, end of watch January 10th, 2022. Police Officer Christopher Wayne Berry, Vidor Police Department, end of watch January 25th, 2022. Police Officer Chris Bardwell, Crossroads Police Department, end of watch February 1st, 2022. Police Officer Lonnie Sneed, Double Oak Police Department, end of watch February 15th, 2022. And finally, Border Patrol Agent Raul Humberto Gonzalez Jr., U.S. Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, end of watch December 7th, 2022.
I'd like to ask everyone, as a sign of respect, that we have a moment of silence for these brave and courageous servants. And do we have a motion?
I do make the motion to enroll and induct these officers into the Texas Peace Officers Memorial Monument as read into the record.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. We are now going to move to agenda item number 10, and we have Mark Einfalt. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Thank you, sir. From the Office of the Attorney General, and I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Madam Chair, before you get started, Mark, I'd like to introduce everybody from the AG's office here today. First of all, y'all, there's no constant but change in this world, and certainly Ray Winter, with his long service with the agency, he retired late December. Mark Einfeld has worked with Ray for years, and he's represented the agency for years. But don't get used to him for too long, because Mark's got a couple more cases with us. And also joining us from the Office of the Attorney General, we've got the Chief of the Administrative Law Division, Ernest Garcia. They'll be handling our cases moving forward. Mark still has a few, but they'll be operating with us from now on. And we certainly appreciate all the meetings and attention that they've all given us and the service they've given us throughout the years. And we look to a bright and prosperous future with the Office of the Attorney General. We thank you all for all y'all's hard work, and thank you all for being here. And I'll let you do what you got to do, Mark.
Thank you. Madam Chairman and Commissioners, I'll present the disciplinary actions under Agenda Item 10. We begin with default suspension order pertaining to Randy Collins. On February 11th of 2020, in the County Court at Law Number 5 of Montgomery County, respondent was convicted or placed on community supervision for driving while intoxicated, a Class B misdemeanor. The Executive Director determined that the respondent committed an offense above a Class C misdemeanor and filed a license action seeking a 10-year suspension. Respondent failed to answer the petition. The Executive Director recommends a 10-year suspension.
Any questions? Okay, do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the Executive Director's recommendation to enter to a default suspension order for Brandy Collins.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Okay, motion passes. Sir.
We move on to agreed suspension waivers. Your agenda showed a matter pertaining to Marina Garcia. Per Mr. Beecham, that matter has been pulled for later consideration, and we move on to Joyce Wilson. On or about June 22nd, 2021, the respondent submitted, caused to be submitted or filed a false or untruthful personal history statement to TCOLE. Specifically, respondent failed to disclose statements related to previous law enforcement applications, employment disciplinary, and criminal history for a pre-employment background investigation with the Gonzales ISD Police Department. The Executive Director determined respondent violated standards relating to submitting reports to the Commission and filed a license action seeking a 60-day suspension. The Executive Director recommends acceptance of respondent's agreed 60-day suspension.
Any questions? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the Executive Director's recommendation for the agreed suspension waiver for Joyce Wilson.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Sir.
We have one agreed revocation waiver pertaining to Jeffrey Bell on November 15, 2019, in the 230th District Court of Harris County. The respondent was convicted or placed on community supervision for assault family member, a Class A misdemeanor. The Executive Director determined that respondent committed a misdemeanor offense involving family violence and filed a license action seeking revocation. The Executive Director recommends acceptance of respondent's agreed revocation.
Any comments or questions? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the respondent's agreed revocation for Jeffrey Bell.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes.
Commissioners, we move on to proposals for decision. Your agenda item, the first one is for Juan Kira on November 14th, 2019, in the Municipal Court, City of Ennis County. The respondent was convicted or placed on community supervision for assault, a Class C misdemeanor. The Executive Director determined that respondent committed a misdemeanor offense involving family violence and filed a license revocation action. The respondent requested a SOA hearing, and in response, the Executive Director filed a motion for summary disposition. On January 13th, 2023, SOA issued a proposal for decision finding that respondent committed an offense involving family violence and recommending the revocation of respondent's peace officer and jailer licenses. The executive director recommends acceptance of the proposal for decision.
Any questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the proposal for decision to revoke the peace officer and jailer license for Juan Cura Jr.
Second.
We have a motion and 2 seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Sir.
Thank you. The second proposal for decision pertains to Casey Lorsey. On July 31st, 2017, in the 21st District Court of Burleson County, respondent was convicted or placed on community supervision for terroristic threat, a Class B misdemeanor. The executive director determined that respondent committed a misdemeanor offense involving family violence and filed a license revocation action. Respondent requested a SOA hearing, and in response, the executive director filed a motion for summary disposition. On December 2nd, 2022, SOA issued a proposal for decision finding that respondent committed an offense involving family violence and recommending the revocation of respondent's peace officer and jailer licenses. The executive director recommends acceptance of the proposal for decision.
Questions or comments? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we accept the proposal for decision to revoke the peace officer and jailer license for Casey Lorsey.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Sir.
Your agenda showed a third proposal for decision pertaining to Carl Van Sluten pursuant to Mr. Beecham. This matter has been pulled for from the agenda for later consideration. Commission members, that moves us on to the for information only matters. You'll see pursuant to your agenda that there were 4 statutory revocations. There were 3 statutory suspensions. There was a term surrender. There were 28 permanent surrenders outlined in your agenda. There were 6 reprimands for administrative violations. There were 2 reprimands for failing to complete legislatively required continuing education. And finally, there were 96 suspensions for failing to complete legislatively required continuing education. Madam Chairman and Commission members, that completes the disciplinary action part of the agenda.
Well, thank you. And again, to reiterate what John said, we very much appreciate all of you being here today. We look forward to working with you in the future. We appreciate all of the work and the diligence and the objectivity that you put into reviewing the information and for your support. So thank you very much. We appreciate you. So we will move on to agenda item number 11, which involves the strategic plan. We had discussions yesterday. We do have a subcommittee that will be looking at the executive director's charge and evaluation component, which will, of course, encompass a lot of the strategic plan. So that group is beginning their work. There was also discussion yesterday about coming back together as a commission and renewing our discussions. So that will come about in future meetings this year. So we'll move on to agenda item number 12, which is to discuss and take action on legislative items to include exceptional items and performance measures, data, provided by the TCOLE staff. Again, we had quite a few discussions, and y'all heard the comments. And I think all of us communicating our support of all the work that you're doing, and the change in elevation in the information that y'all are providing to us, and how grateful we are to you for that work, but also how useful it is to us. So again, that will, the subcommittee may come back with some additional items or points of information that would be helpful. At the same time, we also would ask staff to come back with that information too. So we look forward to further discussions with you, and to see also what the subcommittee, what information that they develop. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Commissioner Atkins has very graciously agreed to chair that subcommittee, and Commissioner Burris is going to chair the subcommittee for the executive director search. So appreciate both of these women and their willingness to take on that responsibility in those roles, but also to my other colleagues who have agreed to serve on the different subcommittees. So thank you, everyone. So with that, we'll move to agenda item number 13, to receive public comment on any topic, but we will be unable to take action. I don't see anyone running to the microphone, so we will move on to to agenda item number 14, which was going into executive session. We will not be going into executive session today, so that nullifies that one. And number 15, which is returning from executive session. So we are now at agenda item number 16, and before I ask for a motion there, just a reminder that we will be back here in Austin in August for the workshop and the regular meeting, but also I would encourage you to, please, if it fits into your schedule, the award ceremony is very, very moving, and we have such incredible work that's being done here in Texas by our officers and jailers and telecommunicators, and it's just a small way that we can honor them and their work. So if you have the opportunity to attend, would certainly encourage you to do so. We've also, yesterday, talked a little bit about what the rest of the year looks like in August.
Next meeting's in June.
What did I say?
You said August. What was the next meeting here? Just
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, the next meeting is in June here, along with the award ceremony. My apologies. I was thinking it and apparently didn't come out.
You're thinking ahead.
I was
Thinking ahead.
Yes, we are here in June, Austin in June. And I would like to thank Commissioner Lamont Dixon. She has very graciously agreed to host our August meeting in Houston. So please check in on the website. We will have information on dates and locations very shortly. We will again have a commission meeting in October at the conference there in Corpus Christi. And we are hoping to hold our December meeting in San Antonio. And again, we will have dates and information posted up on the website very, very shortly. So.
Make a motion, we,
Go ahead. Go
I'm sorry.
ahead. No, go ahead, sir.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a quick second, so we are, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Oh.
Were you in a hurry? Yeah, I was like,